Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Thought in Progress, subtitled I Have Something to Say. This is episode 2, and I'm your host, Jason W. Tapscott. I'm a CPS, in other words, a professional crazy person. I'm also a professional philosopher and an author. You can find my books on Amazon.com or on my website, jasontapscott.com. Now, my books really come from a place where, since I have a mental health condition, I've been to mental hospitals and prisons, so that's kind of the setting of my books, and that's something that you should check out if you enjoy these videos. Today we're going to continue my story. I'm going to talk a little bit about my college years, because I think we got up to that in the first episode, so that's where episode 2 will start today. So let's see. I told you in episode 1 how I cut a lot of my senior year. Eventually they caught on to me, and but I still was able to graduate, and even graduate with a 4.05 GPA. It was above 4 because I took some weighted classes, some AP classes and some honors classes. So those were weighted a little bit higher. And if you think about it, if I hadn't cut, I could have even got a higher GPA. I probably could have been valedictorian, and that's not boasting, it's just reality, right? Anyway, I ended up graduating 25th in a class of about 400 or 500 people. And because of that, was able to get into University of Pittsburgh, which was my first choice. It was actually the only one I even applied to. And I had to write an essay. The essay was convoluted, but they liked it because I have writing skills, So it made an impression, I guess. And I chose University of Pittsburgh because, it was semi close to home, in comparison with some other schools. But really, the reason I chose University of Pittsburgh is because they have a neuroscience program for undergraduates. And I had taken AP Psych in high school. And so that was kind of where I wanted to go. I wanted to be a neuroscientist, study the brain. It was very interesting to me, all that stuff, EEGs and various things like that. And that's what I wanted to get into. Now, I only lasted about a semester and a half at Pittsburgh because of my mental health conditions. I had very few friends. I met a really great girl or woman, however you want to put it at that age, in biology class, and we used to study together. And she was like one of my only friends, and she was beautiful. And there were times when I think, what does she see in me? How is she even hanging out with me, right? But she was very sociable, and I was kind of quiet, so it kind of fit nicely. And I think that's the reason she befriended me, or I befriended her, or whatever. Eventually, there was a falling out between us because of what happened to me when I was young. I'm very weird about sexual stuff. I'm actually still kind of a virgin, a little bit of a virgin at 37 years old, and that's nothing to be ashamed of. In prison, when I was in prison recently, I told some people that I was still a virgin, and I was surprised at their response. They said it was admirable, and they meant it, and so that's rather interesting to me. But anyway, she invited me to her dorm room the one time, the girl in Pittsburgh, and I thought we were studying or something. We had been hanging out for a while at this point, and I did have a crush on her, but I didn't expect it to go anywhere because I thought she was out of my league, and she probably was. In fact, I'm most certain that she was, but that just may be a function of my lack of confidence in that area too. So she invited me to her dorm room, and we were hanging out. She says something like, "I'm going to go change into something more comfortable." And I'm sitting there waiting for her to come back out, and I'm panicking. I'm panicking because of the trauma that happened to me when I was young. I'm very weird about that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is she gonna expect from me? Is this the beginning of something that I can't handle, right? Um, and so if I remember right, before she even comes back, I don't say anything. I don't tell her anything. I just leave. I just leave and go back to my own dorm room. And I think she kind of wrote me off after that, because I didn't talk to her for a while, and the relationship, even if it was just a friendship, just died. And that was the beginning of my downfall at Pittsburgh. I remember weeks later talking to a therapist in the University Counseling Center, and describing all these psychotic episodes that I was having. I was having trouble sleeping. The meds that I was on had all kinds of weird side effects, and I wasn't able to sleep because of them. And it was bad. It was really bad. I had another friend um, when I was younger. A family friend of mine from Colorado that I would talk to while I was there in Pittsburgh. I would call her. She was in the state of Washington at that time, and she eventually wrote me off too, because she said, "Look, I can't be your therapist. You need too much from me. I can't do it. I can't be your therapist." And that hurt. It really hurt, because she basically wrote me off too. And it's not their fault. I was socially inept at the time, and I was needy, um, and the onus was on me. It was my mental health condition, right? But it did hurt. So eventually I said, look, this is not working. I remember my grandfather came out to visit while I was there in Pittsburgh, and we hung out for my birthday in October. And later on, after I had medically withdrawn from the University of Pittsburgh, after I had gone back home, my mom and my dad, one of them, mentioned to me that my grandfather saw it coming. He said we hung out for my birthday, and apparently he told my parents he's probably coming home soon. He can't handle it. Something along those lines. I love my grandfather to death, and I respect him. And I didn't take that as an insult. I took that as he cared about me, and he was intuitive enough to see that I was struggling, right? Um, so I come home from Pittsburgh, and I'm bouncing around to different colleges, different majors, anthropology here, Millersville University there. Um, I made it a while at Millersville, and somewhere in there I got an associate's degree from a community college in Delaware County too, and those were some good years. I think 2006 to maybe 2005 to 2007, something like that. But I managed to get an associate's degree, so I was kind of proud of that. But I also said to myself, you know what, you're capable of more. I always do that to myself, and I'm learning to do that in a more positive way, and not downplay what I have accomplished. And it's difficult for me because I have very high standards for myself, um, and in a way, it's a good thing because that's what drives me. That's what makes me put myself out here on this channel. That's what drives me to write. That's what drives me to work. That's what drives me to overcome what I can that happens in my mind from my mental health condition. Right. That drive, um, whether I internalize my mom and dad's work ethic, or um, internalize, and sometimes it's not good. It's I don't accomplish things that I'm not worthy. So I've got to battle with that as well. Um, anyway, back to college. Millersville started out well. I spent a lot of time there. Um, I ended up getting into drugs and alcohol, marijuana and alcohol. And we'll talk about that next time. I think that was good enough for this episode. I shared a lot. I've got to pace myself for my own wellness. So hopefully you'll come back for episode 3. It should come out sometime next week. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. This is Jason W. Tapscott signing off.